In our videos, we have repeatedly addressed the topic of the evolutionary arms race. Back in the distant Cambrian period, long before life emerged onto land, all fauna finally divided into conditional carnivores and herbivores. Those living organisms that were hunted by toothy and fanged predators were forced to invent newer ways of protection. It is precisely about them that we will talk in today's episode. Subscribe to the Age of Dinosaurs channel. Also, leave comments under our videos and mark the episodes you like with likes. By these actions, you not only promote the channel through the platform's algorithms, but also help other science enthusiasts see it. In the course of evolution, animals have developed not very many mechanisms for protecting their own lives. But at different times, each species of living beings applied these mechanisms in its own way, sometimes combining several methods at once. Let us consider each type of protection using the example of our favorite dinosaurs, as well as other extinct and modern animals. Armor. Probably the very first, and at the same time, the simplest way to protect against predators was the appearance of a strong protective shell. In the Mesozoic era, this method was most actively used by the so-called armored dinosaurs, ankylosaurs, ceratopsians, and euoplocephaloses. The latter even managed to acquire armored eyelids. The dorsal armor of these lizards was so powerful that it was easier for their enemies to try to flip the prey onto its back and attack the less protected belly. However, doing this was not so simple. Armored dinosaurs had a very squat body and tried to press themselves as close to the ground as possible in case of danger. Armor in one form or another appeared long before the age of dinosaurs. Mollusks, arthropods, and echinoderms were covered with a strong shell or placed their bodies in shells long before life emerged onto land. Some crustaceans even learned to use other creatures' shells for protection. Also, in the seas of the Devonian period, an entire class of armored fish appeared. After the extinction of the dinosaurs, this protective tactic was adopted by mammals as well. In the Miocene and Holocene, giant armadillos, glyptodonts, roamed the earth. They appeared in South America and gradually settled in some territories of North America. These animals weighed up to 4,400 pounds and grew up to 10 feet in length. Glyptodonts went extinct about 12,000 years ago, meaning the first American Indians could very well have seen them alive and hunted them. Currently on our planet, armored descendants of these giants still live, as well as pangolins, which are similar to, but not related to armadillos. Even humans, who have never had natural armor, adopted this method of protection from animals. From ancient times, armor made from various materials has been used for protection: wood, bone, leather, bronze, and steel. And now, increasingly lighter and stronger compositions are being created, used for protection against different types of weapons. Large sizes and body mass. To make sure no one wants to attack you, you can also become larger than all your offenders. Among dinosaurs, this tactic was most often used by sauropods and hadrosaurs. Rare predators, even pack ones, risked attacking such giants as the 88 short-ton Argentinosaurus or the 55 short-ton Brachiosaurus. Among hadrosaurs, the largest species was Shantungosaurus, reaching 22 short tons in adulthood. However, this method of protection had a significant drawback. Often, the prey of predators became young individuals who had not yet gained the necessary dimensions, but had already become slow and clumsy. It is believed that only 1 out of 20 to 30 young of large herbivores survived to adulthood. Before dinosaurs, large body sizes were tried as a defense against dangers by mollusks, such as camouflage with a 33-foot shell, and arthropods, like the largest eurypterids, and early amphibians, temnospondyls, and, of course, fish. From the time after life emerged onto land, one can note the giant insects of the Carboniferous period. And if, for example, the giant dragonfly, Meganeura, was carnivorous and was the dominant predator of its time, then the 6.5-foot millipede, Arthropleura, most likely fed on plants and pollen. For it, large sizes quite likely served as protection from predators. In the Permian period, Estamenoscichuses, Herbivorous therapsids resembling hippopotamuses were distinguished by large sizes. With the disappearance of dinosaurs, the niches of large herbivores began to be actively occupied by mammals. Here, one can mention the largest land creature in the planet's history, Indracotherium, and mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses, and many other animals. Now, such invulnerable giants are elephants, rhinoceroses, and hippopotamuses. And in the seas and oceans, this place has been taken by whales. Legs and tail as weapons. The story about armored and giant herbivorous dinosaurs would not be complete without mentioning their unusual tails. Besides the fact that the long tail of sauropods balanced their huge bodies, it was extraordinarily mobile. Using it like a whip, it was possible to inflict serious injuries on predators who dared to attack these giants or to stun them. But ankylosaurs developed this ability the most strongly. They were the most advanced among all armored dinosaurs, and their tail was crowned with a massive leathery club. At the same time, the structure of these lizards' spine allowed them to move the tail at high speed and swing it in a very wide arc. It is difficult to name an earlier or modern animal that used its tail as such an effective weapon. One can recall, perhaps, the Komodo dragon, which can break the legs of its victim with a tail strike. Whales also use their tail as a weapon, stunning their opponent with it. Often, videos on the internet show footage of killer whales hitting their prey with their tail or even tossing it above the water. Also, with their huge sizes, herbivorous dinosaurs could simply trample their opponent. And using a running start, giants like Triceratops could first ram the offender and then beat it with their large feet. Now, elephants, rhinoceroses, hippopotamuses, and boars do this. Less large ungulates, like horses, bison, moose, deer, and antelopes, also do this. These creatures can strike the enemy not only with their front hooves, but also with their hind ones. Speed, hearing, and mutual assistance. The ability to run fast can be used not only to repel a predator's attack. With the help of speed and maneuverability, you can simply escape from it. In one of our earlier episodes, we told that the therapsids of the Permian period were very slow creatures, and an attack by something like Inostransphevia on an Estimonosuchus or another herbivorous animal resembled a leisurely battle between sailing ships. In the Mesozoic, carnivorous dinosaurs switched to a bipedal mode of movement. That is, they began to run on two legs. At this stage, they became faster than their prey. Therefore, some herbivores acquired armor and protective armament, while others also began to develop speed qualities. To do this, they had to become lighter and move their limbs from the sides under their body. And now, for most herbivores, the only way to escape from a predator is flight. Almost all ungulates, large rodents, as well as many birds and reptiles, do this. Some lizards can temporarily switch to running on two legs, and their speed allows them to run even on the surface of water. For an active predator, one of the most important qualities is keen vision. But for their potential victim, it is much more important to have good hearing. At the same time, a common phenomenon, especially in the African savanna, is mixed herds. Zebras, giraffes, and antelopes try to graze not far from each other. For this, in the process of evolution, they even became specialized in eating different plants. It is believed that from their height, giraffes can spot approaching predators earlier, and large antelopes can drive them away from the herd or try to offer some resistance. Probably, dinosaurs did the same. Only sauropods with long necks played the role of giraffes, and ceratopsians, for example, played the role of large ungulates. Herbivores in the course of evolution developed the ability to produce loud trumpeting sounds, with which they warn each other of danger. Perhaps herbivorous dinosaurs also had such an ability. Such division of duties can also occur within one species. An example of this can be the so-called social insects, bees, ants, termites. In these creatures, each individual from birth until death performs its social role. There are duties in communities of more developed animals as well. Members of lion prides, herds of various ungulates, and monkey troops perform their duties. Some animals form symbiosis with larger and more dangerous creatures for safety. An example of such mutually beneficial coexistence is the symbiosis of sharks with remoras or crocodiles with the bird, called the Egyptian plover or trochilus. Some animals have learned to defend themselves even with the help of plants. For example, the clownfish hides from enemies in thickets of poisonous algae, anemones. Its body is covered with the film of a special protective mixture, making its skin similar to the tissues of anemones. And for other underwater inhabitants, the algae inflict painful burns. Horns, spikes, and tusks. Of course, it is more convenient to defend against the fangs and claws of carnivorous animals when you have not only defensive, but also offensive armament. Therefore, from the very beginning of the division into predators and herbivores, many animals began to acquire spikes, and later, horns and tusks. Even the tiny hallucigenia, which lived on the bottom of Cambrian seas and oceans, had 2 rows of impressive spikes along its back. Armored dinosaurs, in addition to their armor, had huge spikes on their sides and back. Their relatives, stegosaurs, can also boast spikes on their back and along their tail. Ceratopsians were protected by a powerful leathery frill and horns on their head and nose. Rhinoceroses later borrowed this protection scheme from them. Mammoths and their distant descendants, modern elephants, have impressive tusks. Boars and other wild pigs defend themselves from predators with powerful and sharp fangs. Other ungulates have sharp horns on their head. Sharp spikes on the back protect hedgehogs, porcupines, and even primitive echidnas from dangers. Camouflage and war paint. You can also simply hide from any danger. This is especially convenient if you can blend in with the surrounding landscape and become completely invisible. Scientists have almost no data on the coloration of dinosaurs, but it is quite logical to assume that some of them used camouflage. This assumption is partially confirmed by a recently discovered ankylosaur from the Cretaceous period in the Canadian province of Alberta. Thanks to the good preservation of its skin coverings, scientists were able to analyze the color pigments preserved in them. It turned out that this dinosaur, named Borealepelta, was colored in reddish-brown tones. This color almost completely matches the color of the clay soil in that area. That is, ankylosaurs were not only well protected, but also knew how to hide well from predators. For the young of many modern mammals, such as boars or lions, masking coloration is characteristic. And some herbivores, like zebras or okapis, use camouflage coloration even in adulthood. Predatory animals do not disdain masking either. The spotted or striped coloration of large cats allows them to hide in thickets and unexpectedly attack their prey. The ability to hide in the surrounding space is well used by many insects. Some of them in a motionless state are easily mistaken for a twig or a green leaf. Also among insects, the phenomenon of trying to pass themselves off as a more dangerous creature is widespread. Some flies have striped coloring and externally resemble wasps. And some octopuses and cuttlefish can release dark liquid into the water, under the cover of which they manage to escape from danger. Other animals try to look poisonous, although in reality they are not. Also, some animals, in case of danger, sharply increase their size, inflate bubbles on their throat, or inflate entirely, raise their fur on end, spread leathery frills. They can also change their color, make threatening sounds, and in every way demonstrate aggression. Humans are no exception in these matters. From ancient times, they use camouflage clothing or paint themselves in masking colors, and also try to intimidate the enemy with various drawings on the body and face. Poisons, chemical weapons, and other exotic methods. Various poisonous substances are more often used in living nature by hunters. Snakes, scorpions, wasps, and many others use poison. But those they hunt can also turn out to be poisonous. For example, platypuses have retained poisonous sharp spurs. However, they more often use them for fights with each other. Many insects, such as bees, also inject poison into the offender's body. and certain species of frogs accumulate poisonous substances in their body by eating poisonous ants. Many insects, like bugs, as well as some mammals, release unpleasantly smelling substances in case of danger. A vivid example in this case is a creature like the skunk. It douses the predator attacking it with a stream of very caustic liquid. Getting rid of its unpleasant smell later is very difficult. It is difficult to say whether poisonous dinosaurs existed in reality. So far, there are no confirmed scientific data on this, and the poison-spitting Dilophosaurus is just an invention of the creators of the movie Jurassic Park. From completely exotic methods of protection, one can recall the ability of some species of rays and eels to create electric discharges. There are also animals capable of simply discarding a part of their body in case of danger, which then grows back. A classic example in this case is lizards, leaving only their tail to the enemy who grabbed them, and a creature like the sea cucumber simply spits out its internals at the enemy. As is known, in the course of evolution, the most adapted organism survives. Therefore, to protect against different types of dangers, animals develop newer and newer mechanisms. At the same time, they actively improve them and combine them with each other. We are no different from other animals in this. Only humans throughout their history have created protective devices with the help of their mind and skillful hands. But many things they spied precisely in living nature. And for further survival, people need not to destroy the environment, but to understand how to use natural mechanisms even more effectively. In conclusion, as always, we thank the viewers who watch all our videos to the very end. You can learn more about the eternal confrontation between predators and herbivores from previous episodes posted on the Age of Dinosaurs channel. They tell about the features of the evolution of different animals, the latest scientific discoveries in the fields of paleontology and anthropology, as well as the complex relationships of humanity with nature throughout its existence.